This Sculpin streamer pattern was designed in the 1970s. It uses a derivative of the Matuka method for attaching a fur or feather to the top of the hook shank. The method for this fly uses standalone soft fibers tied into sections along the top. This allows you to use almost any soft, natural, or artificial hair. We're going to start a fly with a Daiichi 2220. Now this is a size 4. It's 1 extra strong and 4 extra long. I've wound some 0.025 inch lead wire around the hook shank, starting at the bend and up just short of 2/3 up the hook shank. Now we don't want to go any further than this because we need bare wire to spin our deer hair on. Take a chunk of craft fur. Now this is pseudo hair from hairline. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't have under fur in them. This one does have a little bit. As you can see, the tips are not really aligned that well, so you can just take them out, kind of play with it till all the tips are fairly even. After you've aligned the tips, take a section about the length of the hook shank. Maybe the diameter is the thickness of the lead in a number 2 pencil. Now I'm going to switch my camera to the fly tire side of the hook and show you how we do this Matuka style using freestanding furs. Take some round gold tinsel and place that on top of the hook, and we'll tie that in. Take a fine tan chenille. We want to mount that on the side of the hook here. So each wrap will be complete when the chenille gets to the side. All right, bring our thread forward about the width of 2 wraps of the chenille. And we're going to wrap this counterclockwise. That would be looking down the hook shank. This is going to be the opposite way you normally do material. So you're going to bring that around once, twice. We're going to tie that in. So now we have our chenille, our thread in front of our chenille. Take a nice clump of your craft fur. Again, align the tips if you want for a little thicker. This stuff's very fine. About the length of the hook shank, we want to come right in the tie-in point where our thread is. We're going to do 1, 2 wraps, and that is going to be about the width of a wrap of chenille, if you can see that. We're going to come underneath. On top of our wraps, take another clump, length of the hook shank, that right there. A couple wraps right next to our chenille. Let's get that a little closer in the back. Then cut that off. And just repeat the process. So we've got one more piece to go. Cut off the chenille. And then take our last piece, now we're going to counter wrap with our gold tinsel, so it's going to go clockwise. Prepare 2 mallard barbed flank wood duck feathers. And we want the very tips of these right there. So rip off the fluff and a bunch of the fibers until you get a little pectoral fin that's going to look like that. These pectoral fins on the Sculpins are freakishly large, and we want them to curve out. Let's just flip him over. The reason we stopped short and didn't put the chenille up this far is because we're going to cover this section with some red rabbit dubbing. That'll give this Sculpin pattern the illusion that there are gills. Now we're going to finish with a couple half hitches right here. We're going to take some GSP thread. So we're going to tie that right against our lump of dubbing. Now to cut the GSP, it's kind of waxy and stuff. Just take your scissors, put it up against there, and do like that. Take a clump of deer hair. Now we're going to want to align the tips on these because we want a collar on the top. So this first one, we're just going to compress the deer hair on the top and then do it on the bottom. I want a collar on the top, but not on the bottom. So comb out the underfur. We'll put these in our hair stacker. Okay, with the tips aligned. And the collar about going to half of the pectoral fins. We're going to compress these fibers. We aren't going to spin them because I want a collar on the top and not on the bottom. Take 1, 2 wraps. Now we're going to pull that down, and you see those flare, but it's not spinning. Okay. Pull those back a little bit. Do another tight wrap. Working your way back. And now we have a nice collar. It's on the top, but not on the bottom. Now what I like to do at this point is I want to protect my collar on the top, so when I trim it, just take a little bit of the blue painter's tape. So I'm going to turn upside down where we don't have any deer hair. Cut another clump about the same size as the one on top. Now we don't need to align our tips because we're going to cut those off. I don't want a collar on the bottom. Set that right on top, or on the bottom in this case. We're going to take another wrap and a wrap. And then we're going to compress that, and you'll see that flare out. And we're not spinning it, so grab it. There we go. So all around the hook, you'll see that we have our deer hair. Now we're going to pull everything back. Get your hair packer. Lay that across the top at a 45-degree angle so you capture it. So 1 wrap, 2 wraps. Now we're going to pull it tight, but we got to follow it around. See how that spun all the way? Pull it back. Work our thread forward. Make a couple more wraps to secure it. Take the hair packer again.
We'll just build up a little head. Make sure those deer hairs stay where we want them. And we'll finish with some half hitches. Again, to cut the GSP, just make a little V with your scissors, put it around the thread, and bring it up. Now, I don't like to use the razor blade. I want a little more personal touch. It's kind of fun for me to trim this shape. What I like to do is have a round side and top with kind of a flat bottom, and I also kind of want a flat face, as that'll cause a larger wake as it moves through the water and more vibration to get the fish's attention. So let's just start trimming that off.